Wireshark Network Protocol Analyzer. If you're an IT professional, this is one of the best utilities you can have in your toolkit. So many cool things you can do with it. You can use it for network troubleshooting. You can use it for packet and protocol analysis. You can use it to trace connections and investigate suspicious traffic. If you wanted to, you could even use it for a little bit of this thing we call ethical hacking. Shh! But there's another really important thing you can do with this program. If you are new to IT or network communications, Wireshark can be one of the best learning tools you have at your disposal, if you set it up properly. In this video, I'm going to show you how. Hey everybody, Troy here, and welcome to the video. As I said, today I'm going to be deploying this wonderful utility called Wireshark Network Protocol Analyzer. My goal today is to deploy it and set it up in a way that we can use it for maximum learning potential. Along the way, I'm also going to provide you some cool tips and tricks that you might find useful as a beginner, and I'm also going to show you some of my favorite filters and how I like to get things done when I'm trying to learn more about a specific packet or protocol. As always, timestamps are available in the video description below. Have a quick look. If there's a particular portion of the video that you're most interested in, feel free to jump right ahead. Otherwise, start with me at the very beginning. We're going to take a look at wireshark.org. Two things I want to focus on. Number one, don't leave this site without taking a good look at the Get Help menu. There is a tremendous array of resources here for you, especially as a Wireshark beginner. There's facts, there's user support guides, there's even a wiki, forums, all sorts of ways you can learn more about this particular utility. Next thing we want to do is grab our download. I'm going to click on the great big gray download button on the left-hand side. You'll see that I've got an installer based on pretty much any operating system I want to work with. I'm going to use the Windows 64-bit installer because I'm going to be installing this on a Windows 11 virtual machine. This will also work with Windows 10. So I'm going to snag my installer and I'll see it in my virtual machine. I have grabbed my installer and I have put it on my virtual machine ready to deploy. Now, before I do that though, I want to give you a very quick look at my infrastructure. This is what I'm working with today. I want to show you this for two reasons. One, I want to show you what I can do with Wireshark, but I also want to draw attention to what I can't do. I'm going to be deploying Wireshark right here on this Windows 11 machine. Now, what that means is I'm going to be able to watch traffic to and from this particular network interface. I'll be able to watch all the traffic that leaves from this host to any other host on the network, including traffic that goes to the internet. I'll also be able to watch for and capture traffic that returns to this particular interface. Here's what I'm not going to be able to see. With this configuration, I'm not going to be able to capture traffic from, say, this workstation to this server, or this server to the internet, or this machine to the internet or back. I'm not going to be able to do that with this particular topology. If I wanted to capture any of that, I'm going to have to consider a more sophisticated deployment. There's a fantastic GitLab article that I placed in the video description. Then this gives you all sorts of ideas on how you can place Wireshark within your network for optimum results. In the future, I'll try to do a video or two on a couple of these examples, specifically SNMP and port mirroring and maybe a network tap. But for now, I'm going to keep it nice and simple and just focus on traffic to and from this particular workstation. All right, back to my virtual machine I go. Let's get this installation going. I'm going to double click the installer that I've just simply put on the desktop, and I'm going to follow the installation wizard. Now, if you are new to Wireshark, feel free to follow the defaults. They are very, very safe. The only thing I like to do is throw a desktop icon on there, and because I'm not using any other protocol or packet analyzers, I'm going to be fine with associating these extensions with Wireshark. I'm going to click next, accept the default location. Now, I want this installed. This is the NP cap adapter. And what this lets me do is actually do all the packet capture. I need this as part of this to work. I'm going to accept that. I also have an option to install something called USB PCAP or USB packet capture. This allows me to capture traffic from my host to any associated peripheral connected via USB port. That's a little bit outside the scope of what I want to do today. I'm going to leave that unchecked, hit the install button, and away we go. It's going to do the first round of installation, extracting from the installer and putting the NP cap adapter on my host. Accept the license agreement, and I'm going to again follow the defaults and let this thing go through its paces. That was a quick little portion of it. Now I've got NP cap. I'm going to finish, and now it's actually going to put Wireshark on here. Sort of a two-phased install here. Collectively only takes a matter of seconds with most machines. Next phase complete. I'm going to hit next, and I'm going to hit finish, and away we go. We are all done. That was so easy so far. I'm loving this Wireshark thing. I'm going to double click now on the Wireshark icon, and let's load this program for the first time. Now you can see here is a little note about some updated release. I'm going to remind me later on. I'm going to grab and expand this particular window. Now the first thing that you're seeing is you're greeted with the capture window. This is where Wireshark is showing me all the adapters that I can use to capture information. As you can see, being a virtual machine, the primary one I'm watching is the Ethernet adapter. And look at this. I can already see that I've got activity right there. You see these little graph that's expanding in front of me. This is showing me that Wireshark is detecting activity on that Ethernet adapter, and that's the one that I want to watch. Now, to start a capture, there's a couple ways I can do it. I can highlight my Ethernet adapter and then click on this blue shark fin, which allows me to start capturing packets. I can double click on the Ethernet adapter, or I can right click and select the start capture option. That's what I'll do. Let me just expand my window a little bit. You can see I'm already seeing some packets here, some information. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just minimize Wireshark, and I'm going to go do some things that Wireshark should hopefully capture. Let's start off with, let's go do some browsing. Okay, I'm going to head off to Google. Let's do some searching. Let's go see, I don't know, Cisco.com. Let's see what's going on there. I'm going to go to Cisco Canada, and I'm going to take a quick perusal at this website. I could log in. I'm going to now capture all this particular TCP, TLS conversations that I'm going to look at in Wireshark. I'm going to poke around. I've generated some traffic. Let's also do some admin work. What I'm going to do is pop into my start menu, and I'm going to do a little command prompt. I'm going to right click, run this as an administrator so I get full control over my commands. And let's do a little bit of ping. I'm going to confirm connectivity to the internet. There we go. I've got a nice set of replies, and let's do some, let's see if we can capture some DHCP. So what I'm going to do here is do a quick little IP config, verify that I have got a logical address 172.206.231.28. Now I know that because I'm using a default switch, I'm getting this via DHCP. This is being dynamically assigned from my host machine that's actually serving as a DHCP server. I'm going to go IP config, and I'm going to release this address, and I'm going to follow that with a ipconfig/renew command, and I'm going to request another address from that host DHCP. It's giving me the same one, but now Wireshark has actually caught this particular transaction between my machine and the DHCP server. Fun stuff. Now what I'm going to do is minimize this. Let's go back to Wireshark and see, look at everything that's going on. I'm going to expand this a little bit, give you some more real estate to look at, and I'm going to now stop this packet. You see that I've captured quite a bit of information, 10,988 of them. I'm going to hit this red square on the top left, stop capturing packets, and now let's take a look at what we can see. Now, honestly, this is where so many students unfortunately stop. We've got this barrage of information presented, and we need to figure out how to make it make sense to us. As I mentioned, there's so many cool things we can do with Wireshark, but what we're here to do today is figure out how we can set this up in a way for maximum learning as we navigate our early stages of our IT career. Now, here's where I like to start. Let's first get the big picture. Before we go packet by packet, I want to show you how we can get a feel for the whole high-level view of everything that's happened with Wireshark. And to do that, I'm going to recommend you click on the Statistics tab. And the first thing that I like to look at is the capture file properties of this particular set of captures. You can see this capture was running for a total of 2 minutes, and in that 2 minutes, I captured 10,988 packets. I've got great, cool information associated with things like the average packet per second, the packet size, the total amount of bits and bytes transferred. There's a really good high-level overview of everything that has happened, and it's worthwhile taking a look at. Now I'm going to close this window and I'm going to take now a look at this same thing from a high level view, but only I want to see this conversations tab. Now what this tells me now is another look at all of those packets, but now they're dividing them into what we refer to as conversations. So as you learn IT and network communications, you notice that so much of this traffic is actually what we define as streams and conversations between one device and another, one host and a server, my client and the internet. All of this is being tracked under this conversations window. You can see that I've got layer 2 Ethernet conversations. I've got logical conversations focusing on my IPv4. This is my host computer. As you can see here that I've got all the different addresses that my computer has talked to in the course of those 2 minutes that I was tracking information. I can take a look at IPv6. Yes, my computer was using IPv6 by default for some things. And I can also see I've got a variety of TCP and UDP conversations. So as I learn the difference between TCP, Transmission Control Protocol, and the Reliable Protocol, as well as User Datagram Protocol, the Best Effort Protocol, you see that Wireshark has captured it all. Now, here's your first tip. Let's go take a look at this IPv4 tab. And let's say, for example, that I wanted to take a look at the conversations that happened between my machine and whatever was at 204.79.197.203. This is a captured conversation. I can right click and I can apply this as a filter. And you can see here that I can now capture all the traffic between my host and that particular destination address. I've got some cool filters here. I'm going to select the top one that says anything to and from my host and anything to and from that address B, that particular destination. I'm going to click here and you can see that behind the scenes, what's happened is I have filtered my information. Now we also see that the syntax for what we call the Wireshark filter has been provided for us. This is simply said, I want to display all the information that includes the address at 172.26.231.28 and the address 204.79.197.203. This is a great way to start learning the syntax that I need for a variety of different filters. Now let me show you one other really cool thing that I think you'll like. I'm going to clear this filter by clicking the X on the top right, and notice how all these packets have different colors. This is another way that Wireshark is trying to help us navigate through this barrage of information. So many of these colors should be jumping out at us. What do they mean? Well, to find out, we're going to go into the View tab, and I want you to look for something called Coloring Rules. I'm going to click on that, and you're going to see the default coloring rules that Wireshark has for anything that matches a certain criteria. So for example, there's my gray TCP SYN and FIN. These flags are evident in these particular packets. They've been noted as gray. I've got red, black, I've got yellow, purple. All of this is predefined for me. And once I understand what these colors mean, these rules can give me a clue as to what Wireshark is trying to tell me. When you get better with Wireshark, you can actually build your own filters, but for now, I'm going to, again, accept the defaults. I'm going to hit cancel and go back to my packet capture. Now, let me show you the next way to do some very basic filtering. Remember, when I was in that conversation view, I was able to right click and start isolating specific conversations that I was after. The right click works here as well. Maybe I want to see all information from a particular source. I'm going to choose my machine again. I'm going to right click on the address 172.26, you see 231.28, right click there, and now I can move down here and select apply as filter. You'll see that grayed out is the syntax that I need to apply a particular address. I'm going to look for everything where the source IP equals 172.26.231.28. I'm going to hit selected, and now I have applied that filter for me without me even having to know the syntax. I've captured all the traffic that has left that particular host over that adapter. Now, I'm going to take a quick look at some of the syntax here. You see it's got a double equal sign. I could type this myself when I get a bit more comfortable with it. It does not need spaces. You may find that you can do it with no spaces. You can also even replace this with an EQ. Okay, Wireshark also accepts that syntax. And I can now still see what I'm after with respect to that packet filtering. Behind the scenes, Wireshark is keeping track of all of these filters for me. So if I did select a particular filter and moved on, I can go back and see a running list of the filters that I've successfully applied. Nice. Let's now filter according to destination. You saw I can filter according to source. Let's say that I want to see everything to this address, 65.8.66.107. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to apply as filter. You can see I've got a new filter here pre-populated for me, IP.dst. Destination IP, that's what it's trying to say, 65.8.66.107. I'm going to click selected, and now you can see I've got all the traffic that has been sent to this particular destination address. Excellent. Let's clear this filter one more time and we'll go back to our raw data. And let's now start looking for some particular protocols that we might know about. Now, here's the thing. As we begin our IT journeys, as we learn about network communications, we're learning about new protocols. We're constantly learning new acronyms, things like ARP and DNS and DHCP and TLS and TCP and UDP. All of these are new to us. I want to now find a couple and show you how we can set Wireshark up so we can really understand what's going on with all of these particular protocols that we may be learning. So to do that, the first thing that I want to show you is how I can display based on a particular protocol. Now I'm going to select one called ARP. Address Resolution Protocol. You notice as I was typing in there, I just typed in A and I saw a whole bunch of filters that I could use. I'm going to type in R. It narrows it down even further. I'm going to hit the P button and now I've only got one filter that matches what I've typed. That is ARP. I'm going to select that and the green tells me that it's selectable, and now I have narrowed down all of the packets associated with the ARP protocol. Now I know you're thinking, Troy, how do we possibly know all of the filters that are hidden in here if we still don't know the protocols? If we're still learning the protocols, how can we actually see what filters are possible for us to use? Well, that's where that Wireshark documentation comes in handy. I'm going to go back to the Wireshark website, wireshark.org, docs, and you'll see that we have an entire index of all the display filters. And if I wanted to do a quick little control F, ARP, there it is, Address Resolution Protocol. Get this, it actually now gives me all sorts of information associated with that particular type of packet. Fantastic. Thanks, Wireshark. You are super helpful. Now, I want to customize what I see to make this even more of a learning experience for me. Let's say I'm learning about ARP. How can I dig in and see what's going on in an ARP request and an ARP reply? To do that, let's figure out what we're looking at. And what you're going to see here is we've got three panes. We've got this top pane. We call this the packet list pane. This is a list of all the packets that we've captured. Right now, it's currently filtered based on ARP. I see a second pane here. This is what we call our packet details pane. This is where I can actually dive in and take a look at some plain English summary of the details inside that packet. And down at the bottom, I have something we call the packet bytes frame. And what this is giving me is a look at the details of that packet in its true hexadecimal feel. Terrific. Let's make this better because remember, we're students of Wireshark. We want to learn what ARP is. Let's see if we can fix this window to give us a bit more information. To do that, I want to show you how we can customize this particular profile. You'll see down here on the bottom right-hand side of Wireshark, I have an option called Profile. And if I click on it once, you'll see the profiles that are preset for me. I'm going to right-click on the profile and I'm going to go Manage Profile. And you're going to be able to see that these are those 4 already preset views that came with Wireshark. I want to build a new one. I'm going to hit the plus button and I'm going to call this Troy and I'm going to call it Packet Bytes. Okay. And I'm going to just sort of change this up a little bit. I'm going to hit OK and I'm going to hit OK one more time. Notice down here, I am now working on a new profile. Now I'm going to customize this profile to find a better way to view this information for me. Now I'm going to pop over to the Edit drop-down menu and I'm going to click on Preferences. This is going to let me customize the view, the look, the feel of this particular profile that I just named Troy Packet Bytes. And what I like to do first off is I like to to go to the layout option. And you'll see here that I've got a variety of new ways to display this information. My personal favorite is this guy right here, the second one. You'll see I've got my packet list pane, my details pane, and my packet bytes pane. I'm going to hit OK. And you'll see now that my bottom window is now on the side. This to me is a very tidy way of looking at this stuff, because I can now expand information associated with this particular packet, and I can see where it corresponds in the packet bytes. That's a great way to try to learn how this packet is put together. But I want to look at it in an even different way. I want to look at it in a more visual way. I'm going to go down to my profile, and I'm going to right click, go back to my manage profile. You'll see there's my settings. I'm going to click and create a new packet profile, and I'm going to call this packet diagram, like so. I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to navigate to that particular diagram display, and you'll see that I've got a new view ready for me to customize. It's based on my default view, so it's gone back to the way it would be in Simple Wireshark. I'm going to go to the Edit Preferences option one more time. I'm going to go back to my Layout option, and I'm going to select this particular layout, and I'm going to go to Packet Diagram. Watch this. Now I've changed the format of that third panel, and it's going to be a little bit more visually appealing for me to figure out what's inside there. I'm going to hit OK. There it is. Look at this. If you're learning IT, if you're taking your CCNA or doing your CompTIA network, you're going to see diagrams like this in textbooks. We're actually going to have Wireshark show me this information. Let's go one better and right click on this third pane and show the field values. Look at this. Now, this is such a great way to display an ARP frame that I can start seeing things like the sender MAC address, the sender IP. I can see the destination MAC and the destination source. I can see the target MAC and the target IP. And when I'm trying to figure out what ARP does, I can actually dig in and see this in a nice, simple way. Now let's use this view to look at a couple other protocols. I'm going to go back to my display filter, and I'm going to type in, well, we did a ping. Remember when we were setting up this capture? I went away and I did a ping. I'm going to go ICMP. Can I capture a ping? Yes, I can. Look at that. I've got a series of pings. I've got some that did not work, and I've got some that did work. This was the ping to 8888, and you'll see that it was 4 pings. All of them were successful. Now when I select here, you can see that I've got now information about this particular IP or ICMP packet. Awesome. How about some DNS? You're probably learning about DNS in your studies. I'm going to type in DNS, and I'm going to see queries where my computer has reached out to DNS servers to say, I need to know the IP address associated with this particular URL. We're learning that DNS, domain name system, is a resolver. It allows my computer to take a name like google.com or cisco.com or microsoft.com and translate it, resolve it into an IP address. Well, these are the frames that this was happening. Look what else I can see. I can go here and take a look at this standard query. There's my lovely diagram of this packet, and I'm going to scroll down and take a look at some of the things here inside the details pane. I'm going to see this is a domain name system query, and if I expand here, you can see some very cool information associated with this, including a link to the response to this query. This was a request, and I can see right in the packet, it'll take me to the packet where the response was right here. And you can see that it was 10309. Thanks again, Wireshark. This was super helpful. The other thing you remember me doing was release and renewing my host's address. And I use DHCP as a means to try to capture that. Oh, look at this. This is my DORA transaction. So if you're still learning networking, we realize that DHCP works using something we call DORA. Discover, offer, request, acknowledge. Right here, this is the actual transaction. This is the release, and all of these here are the conversation between my host and the DHCP server where I actually ended up getting information. And because this is so tidy now, this is so easy to read, I can see in the offer, I can go through here and start diving in, and you can see the information that the server offered my computer when it was asking for a new address. So many cool things. Let's look at a couple more. Now, here's another thing that we'll be learning in our networking journey. We're going to learn about the TCP/IP handshake. We're going to learn about the TLS handshake. I can now search by TCP, and you'll see here that I have now filtered all my TCP packets. Now, there's a lot. How can I zone in? Well, remember I talked about these in the context of conversations. These are establishing some kind of communication with another device, and right-click comes into play. Again, saves the day. I'm going to right click on this thing, and instead of now applying this as a filter like I showed you earlier, I'm going to go take a look at the conversation filter. And what I'm going to ask Wireshark to do is show me this particular TCP conversation. Watch this. Now I've isolated the conversation between my machine and the host at 204.79.197.200. There is the beginning of my TCP handshake. This is where my TLS starts. This is the transfer of application data, and this is the finale of my conversation, the four-way TCP teardown that we could learn about in our networking journey. Now, one more cool thing that you may find useful, one of my favorite filters is the contains filter. Let's say that I'm trying to isolate the conversation that I had when I navigated to Cisco.com. Remember, when I was actually trying to capture packets, I went to my Edge browser and I navigated to Cisco.com. Let's see if I can find that conversation. What I'm going to do is clear this filter, and I'm going to type in frame contains. And this now lets me isolate a very specific generic word to see if I can isolate that conversation I'm looking for. And no quotes necessary. I'm going to type in Cisco, and I'm going to hit enter. Now you can see that I have filtered all packets that include the word Cisco in there. There is my DNS. That's where my computer was resolving Cisco.com with an IP address. Oh, here's my TLS beginning. Now I can start isolating with my right click. I'm going to go back to my conversation filter. Let's take a look at this TCP conversation. This is the conversation between me and Cisco.com. So many things to see, so many packets to look at, so many protocols to learn about. I could go on, but what I've tried to do with this video is show you how to install Wireshark for the first time, and more importantly, how can we set it up using some custom profiles to look at these packets in a more meaningful way, especially when we're still learning all this information as new networkers. Hope you found that useful. I will try to find time to do more Wireshark videos in the future. Thanks for watching.